Hey everybody, hello there, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Justin, and John, if they have emerged, if the latter have emerged from their con haze yet. We are unsure. My camera is crooked, and yeah, I'm a little bit, we may get some interruption today, guys, because Pupster is currently in the other room. Because she fell asleep in her crate again. And then she woke up, of course, right when I was about to start this stream. So David is sick today. So essentially, I'm on puppy wrangling duty. So he's eating breakfast in there with her. But if she sits there and cries after that, then I'll just take her out and we'll take a little short break here. I'll take her out and we'll put her in here with me. Yeah. Yay. Yeah, at least you didn't get the con crud, Dogfather. David got the con crud. Yeah, sorry for being late this morning, guys. I was wrangling the puppy solo, and it always takes a little longer. Your fur babies have a sweet tooth. Cornico. But yes, at least the ReaperCon was fun. So hey, we've got a new mini day, guys. How cool is that? There's a cat person ribbon now to you because you had to have both sides represented at the con. Is that it? The whole mouth of sweet teeth. Yes, David got con crud, not COVID. He's tested negative on COVID. He's been testing. Pretty much just like sniffling, sneezing, and now the cough, the horrible cough. So hopefully he's on the tail end of it. He's actually called into work this is his third day. But yeah, so there was some con crud running around, but it appears to be in the form of a standard cold. So people, I'm giving you the chews today. Giving you the chews. Yay, we always like it when you get the chews. Oh no, bad. Too close to the fish person. So okay, what's the skin tone? What are we skin toning here? So we could do like an olivey green. We could do a tealy, like a bluey green. We could do a greeny blue. We could do any color of blue, actually. Any color of blue or turquoise. And then we could even do an indigo if we really wanted to. Like, all those colors are valid watercolor things. And while we were considering this, we should also consider a little bit of other colors on the model. Because every choice we make is going to influence stuff. Like if we want to make the water underneath him. I know it's supposed to be like bubbles on the water, but it reminds me of like spirulina algae. But yeah, she's got a shirt. He's got a fishy belly. We'll probably make his fishy belly a little paler. Seems like a lot of people want blue, green, or teal. Can we put up a poll, Quindy, please? Let's do green, or we'll call it dark green. Kind of like a frog color, you know. Dark green, blue-green / teal, blue, or indigo. Now, keep in mind that if we do him teal, we can always do his little jacket indigo. So that would probably be a good choice. Catterday. You guys and your cats. Okay, we need more dog ribbons here. Hey there, Julie and Bob. Thank you for the sculpting tools and the stamps. I showed them to everybody yesterday on stream. Yeah, with the dark green, exactly. Kind of murky water, Vimanaqua, yeah. So we could go that way with him, or we could go with a more more teal. But if Quindy can get dark green, blue, green, teal, and blue, also put blue in between teal and indigo. And it can be any blue. All right. Yes, everybody had safe travels except for my fiance who got the con crud. Poll is up. What color for fish dude's skin? This will be the main color because he is mostly skin. We have a dark green, we have blue, green, teal, we have blue, we have indigo. Yeah, he got the Concrud for sure. Yeah, vote, 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 everybody. Vote, vote, vote. And once we have the basic color, then we're going to like talk specifics. But if indigo comes in second, then I will essentially make his little jacket indigo because that'd be fun. You may like frosting a little bit much, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to, right? We're going to have to do... I'll have to figure out what ribbon Kiki gives. Oh, it should be at the top of the chat, Kodiak. If you're on mobile, then I'm not sure where you look, but it should be like a pop-down at the top of the chat. Lots of votes, lots of votes. Space Cat, that works. Space Cat. That sounds awesome to me. Oh, did Julie get Concrud too? David totally got Concrud. So we're going to be painting a bunch of Jason Weeby. We're going to be painting a bunch of these elemental Scions, guys. It'll be fun. We haven't done, I don't think we've done any Jason stuff on here. So I'm going to be trying to have us paint a bunch of models from different people. Like we're going to be doing this one, and we're going to be doing some Bob Rodolphi also. So it might. The problem with that V Minaqua is then you're making a very muted, muddy color here, but then you're making a very bright, clean color here. Remember that muted and bright don't really go together very well. You could work it if you made the body quite pale, but we're going to talk about. I don't think murky's going to work because if we're going to teal, I mean, we'd have to go down to olive down here. It'd be kind of weird, but we could think about it. Weeby Wednesday. You dodged Concrud. Oh, too much talking, yeah. Yeah, I always lose my voice by Saturday. Weeby Wednesday. It's going to be Weeby a lot of days. A lot of Weeby days. Because we have not been representative. What? Indigo won? You're kidding. Here I was all stuck on teal, guys. Weird. All right. It's going to be harder to make it look like water now. I shouldn't have given you guys wit indigo. Let's see here. What have I got? We got... Let me grab all my indigos. I could do that one. That's actually acceptable. 1 second while I grab all of them. There we go. Use the newer formulation for that. Let me see here. What else do I have? Anything else for indigo? Got my black indigo. Well, he's going to look very different. No, everybody voted on indigo, so we're going to go indigo. I'm just going to see how I can make it work. Hey, Purple Panda Bear. Oh, was it Slime Kitty? Was it the actual Slime Kitty? Was it this Slime Kitty, Purple Panda Bear? Did you get a Slime Kitty? Or was it a different Slime Kitty? Hey, if we're going to have a cat mini vendor, we have to have a dog mini vendor. No, we're going to go indigo for the skin. I just have to, like, recalculate what I want everything else to be now. It was a different one. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, apparently we've been on a purple kick, but everybody still wants to be there. I'm going to... Let me just look what I've got here. I've got... I need some colder... Oh, where's my Icy Violet? There we go. Icy Violet. And maybe some... that blue's a little bit too warm. That blue's a little bit too muted. That blue might be just right. All right. Maybe. We'll see. All right, so we're going really purpley with our water. Oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds really cool, purple, Panda Bear. Yeah, we need a dog mini vendor. Yeah, it's got to be, we got to have equal representation here. I mean, I love you cat people, but, like, we have to have, like, equal rep here. Also, the puppy is fussing. Because, of course, the puppy is fussing. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go with the bluest indigo we've got. Our other indigos would be very muted and weird. I feel like we do need to, like, make it look like a water figure, so going purple doesn't really play to what we need to do with it. Hold on, let me find another color. Where's my ultramarine shadow? Yeah, there we go. And we'll go ultramarine shadow for the shadows. Oh, I've got a fussy puppy in the other room. Otter Mama with 36 months dropping the song sub. Triple sub-anniversary, triple sub-anniversary, triple sub-anniversary, happy triple sub-anniversary. Thank you. 36 months. That's insane. You've been absorbing us for a long time. Are you sure that it hasn't had permanent damage? All right. Yeah, I was thinking we needed to go more saturated with this one. You could also very easily go muted with him. But I'm thinking I want the... And this is a beautiful color. If you guys haven't used Rich Indigo, which it came out with Kickstarter, I put it back out because it used to be part of HD. It didn't sell great. And then it got, like, thrown away. But then it is such a beautiful color that I felt like I had to bring it back. So I brought it back for this Kickstarter. So if you like Indigo, order a bottle of this sucker because we want it to stay in print. If it goes out of print again, I cannot save it. I can no longer save any colors. So... okay. Bimanakwa, we're overthinking. I'm ill and I can't go there. We're not overthinking this model. I haven't even decided on light sourcing yet. And yeah, I've been also under the weather myself, so my energy level is not the best. I'm not feeling at my most creative. All the stress from puppy and being sick and stuff. Okay. Yeah, the problem with Ocean at Sundown effect for the purple Bimanakwa. Okay, so here's the deal. We've got a bluish purple. And what color is the sunset? It is like orange, right? So right away it's going to make our blue gray. So then we're painting a gray fish guy with orange highlights, which is not very watery. Even though it seems cool, stop and think about it. Remember that when you use a colored light source, it is going to change the color of what it hits. So we'd essentially be painting it a really dark gray or black, like with orange highlights, which would be really weird. And at least that's, like what I was thinking. Or are you saying after the sun has gone down and just like... I'm just going to go for the bluey indigo. I think I'm not going to be too overthinking. If you're talking about, like, evening... Oh, no, I don't care. I mean, indigo is fine, and this is a very blue indigo, as you can see. We'll be okay. We're going to use an ultramarine shadow because it has violet in it. So we're essentially doing him a blue, but it's a little bit purple, and I may bring in some icy violet. We will find a way to make him read as indigo. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I just don't want to, like, if we were doing an evening scene, maybe like at dusk after the sun has gone down, you could maybe go with the night sky indigo, but I think I'm going to say on that. We just have a color combo. It's something. All right, let's see here. And I'm not sold on this. I may go up to that instead. I may counter the purple a little bit and bring him up warmer. Most highlights would bring him up warmer. All right, so where is this guy? He is on a very neutral base. Are we going to have to cut him off of his base and do something funky? Yeah, sorry. I'm like I said, I'm kind of off today, guys. My stomach has been upset for a few days now, so I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I hopefully I'm getting a little bit better. I'm hoping I turn the corner and I can get back to being a bright and shiny and very, very energetic and react appropriately to your puns. But yeah. All right. So now, actually, maybe we'll go. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the belly. Do we want to go all the way up to kind of a pale cream fish belly color on him? Mimic video game. That's funny. Yeah, so now we have to work with this. So we could go, let's see, I've got to stay saturated if we're going this way. So that makes me think I would kind of go with a creamy ivory for the belly if we go ivory for the belly. No, Twisted Oma, this is entirely the fact that I have Crohn's disease and that when I am very stressed, I'll have serious eye issues. So I've got issues. I am very compulsive about washing my hands like all the time around young puppies. I have no illusions. Puppies roll and poop all the time. So yeah, so the biggest thing that's going to help me is like being less stressed. Unfortunately, then when David came home, now David is sick. So like I'm trying to just take a deep breath and trying to de-stress. Stress, never think that stress doesn't impact your health. Oh my God, does it ever. All right, so what we've got right now, do you guys say like a creamy belly? Creamy belly, or should we just go with a lighter indigo? What do you think? I think creamy. Okay, so if you paint something just like with human clothes, if you paint him a very dark color, he's going to look skinnier, and if you paint him a very light color, he's going to stand out more. Creamy belly, lots of creamy belly votes. Okay, good. So yeah, but I mean, otherwise, you're going to have a fat fish dude. It's just what he is. But in general, a light color will make him look bigger and a dark color will make him look slimmer, just like with people in clothes. If you want to look slimmer, wear black. If you want to, if you're skinny, you can get away with white. It'll probably have a slight blue tint toward the edges, HM Road Dog. Do you guys want me to blend those together, or should we do like kind of a pattern, almost like a spotted kind of pattern that blends the two together? Technically, he does have kind of a spot differentiation zone there. Once we have all these choices, then we'll start painting. We're very close now. Pattern, you like the dots? Okay, we'll do freehand. Like asking Anne to do freehand on a stream is like, I don't know, asking the puppy to eat more kibble. I mean, it's pretty easy. Alrighty, I'm gonna put these two. Because these two are light, and because they do go pretty well with our rich indigo, I'm going to put them off to the side for a bit. I haven't made a firm decision on that. And let us work up a basic, we're going to do a spotted pattern to integrate these guys. So let's shake up our blue speckles, yeah. Plenty of amphibians have, like, speckled, spotted patterns. Yeah. Kiki does love chicken. Although she got salmon on her food this morning. To celebrate the fact that she is on the mend. Also, the vet fed her the worst stuff yesterday. Because I had a puppy to juggle. They have asphalt in their driveway, or like blacktop. It's like black, and it was like probably 200 degrees because it was 106 yesterday and the sun was beating down on it. So I had to carry Kiki into the vet. I couldn't put her down on it. It's just too hot for her little paws. And so I'm juggling my folder with all my vet records and my purse and my pupper, and I totally could not juggle my treats and my stuffed animal toy for her. So to get her to be like good for her shots, her Bordetella and her canine influenza virus shot, they pretty much gave her that horrible Kong stuffing stuff, the Cheese Whiz, the goo that's in like the whipped cream can for dogs, which is just terrible. It's just terrible stuff. Like it's a food product. It's not like good food at all. And I'm just like, oh man, I hope I hope we don't have a total blowout because of the Cheese Whiz stuff. I call it the Cheese Whiz stuff because it reminds me of that. It's like a cheese food product, right? It's not really cheese. Yeah, the goo. Yeah, they gave her the goo. I'm like, oh my god. Like, liver treats would have been better. They're rich, but at least she's used to those. Alright, we're going to need a lot of paint, so I'm going to do 8 drops of this rich indigo, which is a beautiful color. Are you guys noting that this is a beautiful color and you need to buy some? Yeah? Yeah, so they gave her that, so I'm just waiting for the interesting poops today. Now we'll see how Kiki's digestive system really is, folks. Also, the whiny puppy is whiny right now, so I may have to go get her and bring her in here in a little bit. So she's a little bit dingo-y, just a little. And then we've got our creamy ivory. Yeah, rich indigo. It is it was a HD color and it got canceled because people were silly and did not realize how awesome it was. And then we brought it back as a Kickstarter color, so it is now orderable anytime you want, 9329. Seriously, it's beautiful. You should pick it up. Yeah, I don't know, Grey Wolf. I mean, I'm not a big peanut butter endorser either. I use, usually I use just canned dog food. Or mush, something mushy and a little bit higher grade. I mean, that's just such dog junk food. Like, there is one dog junk food that I give my dogs because my dogs always have loved marrow bones treats by Pedigree, and they're total junk food. They're totally not good for your dog, but they would go into their crates happily for a little marrowbone treat. So I was like, all right. But I'm trying to give Kiki like higher quality like treats. Your allowance on the swag boxes. Marrowbone. Yeah, you thought so, our fun team, but no, I don't use, and so my dog isn't going to use, and no matter how much she begs, even when she's a teenager. But now she's a baby, so certainly not now. Yeah, normally I give freeze-dried chicken heart, or I did before she had all these bowel problems, and I had to back off of everything. Try having a puppy that you can't really give treats. So what I gave her is just I boil chicken breast and cut it up into little cubes. So she actually was getting some really good treats. She loves the chicken hearts. And the nice thing about the chicken hearts is that you get them as a whole little heart, and you can cut them up into pretty small pieces. Alrighty, we have fish. Man, I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to do this fish. How am I going to do this fish? This is going to be crazy, guys. He's got all these tendril things. Oh, missed a mold line. Alright, so we have decided we are painting the fish indigo instead of a more reasonable color. And I gave it up to you guys, so that's what we're going to do. I bet everybody will paint him teal, like, as far as, like, who paints the fish what. When we have official, quote-unquote, official, haha, paint schemes. Just going to take a little bit. I missed a couple of mold lines I see from when I was cleaning. And since this is Bones Black, I'm just going to use a knife to take those guys off. Especially if we end up giving this one to Jason. I want to... I'll pretty much like paint like at least 3 out of 4 of the Scions with you guys over the next year. And then next ReaperCon. We'll see which one turns out the best, and we'll give that one to Jason. Or we'll give him a choice. I gave Bobby a choice, but he actually gave his choice to Ron, because whatever Bobby chose, Ron was going to get the leftover. But Bobby's such a lawful good paladin. He went over and consulted with Ron. So Ron got the actual choice. But that's alright. Bobby still got a mini. All right, I think we're good. So I find that with Bones Black, I find the knife is the most effective cleaning tool. My knife is fairly dull, so it's not going to gouge the plastic. Still sharp enough to kind of scrape away at these mold lines. I think otherwise I got everything. We can do coral, sure, Beam and Aqua. That would be a good combo, like a good color. It's kind of a split here. I'll whip out the color wheel in just a second to show you guys how we would go about choosing other colors for the model now. If we were using color wheel, which we will because we're us. Because color wheel. All right, I think we're good now. I think we're good. Oh, I see another mold line. Jeez, this is just ridiculous. I looked this model over. I swear I did. But now, of course, the fact is I've got a ton of light on it right now. So I'm seeing stuff that I probably missed earlier. Hey, and the pupper has calmed down, so maybe she'll actually hang out and snooze and not need to come in here. We still haven't fixed our pupper cam because David has been ill. So I haven't asked him to help me troubleshoot why the puppy cam isn't working. So yeah. I probably actually need to get with Justin and have him help troubleshoot, since he's more into the streaming. Only one is brave enough to hit the chicken, to eat the chicken of hearts, huh? All right, we're good. Now we can do it. Now we can go. So I'm going to use my crappy mixing brush to mix these up. This is actually 8-to-1 paint to water on the Rich Indigo. The Rich Indigo is a little bit transparent because the blue and magenta pigments that make it up are very see-through. And so I have a couple of choices with the Rich Indigo. I could, if I try to put a base coat down and I really am like, oh man, no way, it's not covering great, then I can put a tiny bit of pure white in there and put a coat of pure Rich Indigo over the top. That will be just fine. And these little polyps that run down his side here, I think I am going to, they might be a contrasting color. We might make a contrasting colors here. Oh yeah, that's what I love at the Brazilian Steakhouse, the freaking pineapple. So yeah, so we're going to do a pale belly. Good. I'll switch to an actual brush that doesn't suck. I think I'll use my brand new number 2. Let's use the brand new number 2. Normally I'm not a big organ meat person, although I do love liver pate and liverwurst. Love that since I was a kid. My grandpa got me into it. I blame him. So with big, wide expanses like this, and often you won't notice this on smaller models, but because these Scions are really big, they're like 80mm models, you're going to see streakiness. Like, you just are. But you do also see the paints kind of flowing together pretty well. Once I lay it on, the brush strokes aren't staying. They're kind of self-leveling and flowing. That's what we want. I'm going to pop it right up to here. And I'm pretty much just going to block in the belly real quick just to see where I want my lights and darks. Just getting that in there. Oh yeah, yeah. The card, yeah. Yeah, I can't do Brazilian Steakhouses just because I'll never eat as much as, like, to justify the cost. Because I just don't eat all that much anymore. I've gone away from the American dietary lifestyle choice of supersize me. All right, now we're probably also going to want to give this lighter color all around his lower face, which is cool because then we can make his tendrils dark. So I'm going to actually base coat this area kind of around his jowls and his mouth. We're going to do blending also, but I'm going to block it in. I want to kind of get a feel for for my composition at this point. And this is my lightest color on the model. So, and the fact that it starts with a dark gray, means that it'll give me a good feel. I've got Critical Role on the background because it's the puppy pacifier. Every once in a while I hear Matt Mercer's voice. So I'm going to bring that all the way up to the chin here. We can make the fish lips a little darker and it'll stand out. We also can blend in this color later again, but I really want to see, this is part of color composition, is where are my lights, where are my darks? And blocking those in gives me an idea. I totally blorfed on the vest there. But I do want to bring some of this light color up on his face, right? Because the face is important. So you want to kind of draw the eye to it. And one way to do that is to make it lighter. I do think I want to make his forehead darker, but I may bring the pale all up around his face. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually bring it up around his eyes. I'm going to take it all the way up. That way we can make his face stand out easier. It's much easier. And we'll kind of like do a ring around his eyes and keep a space in the middle that can be darker. And I think I'm going to maybe go fleshy over his nostrils and around his mouth. So I'm going to pop that in light as well. Anywhere that I'm thinking of fading to like a more kind of humanish skin tone, I'm going to put down this pale color first. It's because if I try to do something, because a human skin tone is usually an orange. If I try to mix that with the blue or try to transition it from the blue, it's not going to work very well. It's going to really fight. Yeah, you could do him as a koi. There's all sorts of different koi colors. He is probably showing enough skin that you could. I mean, it'd be better if he didn't wear the vest, but because you lose some of the back markings on koi that way. So there's some markings you wouldn't be able to do for the koi because of the way he's sculpted. But yeah, you could totally do a koi on him. I'm sure somebody will. You should do it for ReaperCon next year. Woohoo! Start planning now. Alright, so that's roughly blocking in. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm leaving the tendrils a little dark there. So this is nice because if I make the lips a different color and the tendrils all coming down, if I fade them in darker, you can see I can define the shape of the mouth there. Make the eyes a different color. Keep a darker color on top of the head, the indigo. And yeah. Let me get that indigo blocked in. Mustard sticks. Yes, it's a good thing you didn't say that earlier, or I'd be stuck painting a koi. Isn't this a beautiful color? Like, seriously, this rich indigo, guys. So I'm going to start out just blocking this, but once I have a base coat down, I am going to do some wet blends. So we're going to block in our happy little indigo color. If anybody asks why we're painting it, the fish and not painting it blue or teal, I'm going to blame you guys. Everybody wanted a weird colored fish. That's what I'm going to say. Which, to be fair, when you're dealing with tropical fish, there are many different colors of fish. All valid. It's got some nice texture up here on his neck. You can see it there. Cool. Cool, and yeah, I always love to see new people from the community, like, come on over. We have a really unique con. Like, it's just a different vibe. Different vibe. Like, it's not like a crystal brush with, like, as far as the competition goes, But it is like just a super awesome, cool vibe. Everybody's friendly. Everybody is excited about being there. Everybody's like into the hobby in their own way. It's this is a fantastic experience. If you want to come out of a con really excited to paint, go to ReaperCon. There we go, fishy. And I'm considering painting the crest a different color, so I'm going to keep it the way it is right now. Actually, my rich indigo is covering pretty well at 8:1. Well, let's see. Let's do a little bit of a... I probably want a smaller brush for this, actually. When you're trying to do wet blending and you're... even with a big model... Yeah, I think I want to switch to a smaller brush. Yeah, it's really cool, and we really have our painting competition is pretty unique. It's open system, so it's like World Expo and the shows that the historical guys put on. But it's great because you can get feedback from the judges after. We make our judges available. You can go up and find out who your judges were. I'm going to thin this a little bit more now. Now, one thing about wet blending is once I've got a base coat down, if I'm going to do some wet blending, I'm actually going to thin my paint a little bit more than for base coating. So I think, yeah, I do want to do this. So I'm going to thin it just a little bit more. I like to wet blend with thinned paint and a small brush, which is weird, but... Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad, Panda Bear. Great. Yeah, it's really a cool con. But yeah, I think as far as the competition goes, like if you really want feedback and you really want to improve, like it's awesome that the judges, and not just the judges, you can go up to any of our painters and ask if they have a moment to give you some feedback. And they're happy to do it. So everybody is like, if you're invested in like improving, like everybody is willing to like get on that train with you and help you. Like, and if you just want to enjoy the hobby and you're excited about painting a figure and you just want to show up people something cool that you did, that's awesome too. Yeah. So yeah, so going with a smaller brush, I moved down to my size 1 Da Vinci instead of my size 2. It's a much finer, thinner brush. Lets me put smaller amounts of paint on and work smaller areas. On a big model like this, you're not really going to be able to wet blend the whole thing. Like you have to start and go with just various small areas and work it that way. So let's get close. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth with my different colors. You could also do this with layering. However, if you were, I would still wet blend the first part because layering is going to take you a long time. And there's a lot of area on this guy. And you can cut your layering time in half easily by starting out with a wet blend for your initial coat. Wet blending won't give you a perfect blend, but it'll set you up, and then you can go in and refine with layering. So we're using that there to define the eye. I think I need, at this point, I want to actually define the eye. Where's my walnut? I'm going to darken in the eyes like I usually do. It's because when I'm doing this, I like to do a little bit of lining. I think on this guy, I am going to do walnut for my liner. So I'm going to thin it a fair amount, 2:1. Unlike with a liner paint where I would usually only thin 5:1 or 4:1 paint to water. But yeah, for those of you who it was your first ReaperCon, like, hey, welcome, and thanks for attending. I really feel like there are 2 cons in the US that are very miniature-centric and fun to go to if you're a miniatures person, and ReaperCon is one and Adepticon is the other. Adepticon, though, the focus is less on the hobby and more on gaming, but there's still like a crap ton of great vendors in the vendor hall for miniatures and cool classes and all sorts of stuff. So All right, I'm going to blacken. He's got an eye and he's got a membrane. I think I'm going to, let me see. Yeah, he's definitely got an eye and a membrane, so maybe I'll put the membrane in these colors, or maybe I'll decide to make it fleshy. I like the eyes to get blacked in, I like the nostrils to get blacked in, just to start making the face show up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the miniature series is not for miniatures. It's a shorter, thicker, I've got an example somewhere, maybe in the other room. I have an Escoda that's a miniature series. It's just a shorter, more wedge-shaped brush. It's still got a good tip. It's just, it's like that shape is more suitable for certain techniques. Ah! It's funny, I can hear like the Critical Role theme music in the background. So I overshot that, so I'm putting in water here to clean up my blur. I'm just kind of taking it off of there. And yeah, if El Pupster starts crying again now that she doesn't have a human, I'll go and fetch her. But, so one thing you should know, and it just happened right there, and I actually had to fix it. If your paint is not fully set on the bones, or you're using a thinner paint, but mostly it's like if it's not cured, but yeah, we're using a thinner base layer. It is possible if you put a bunch of water over it that your paint's going to start coming up. And that's what we had happen right there, that I had to stop myself and go back and just kind of recoat. So be aware of that with the bones before it's like fully cured, before the paint is really set on it. You can, if you throw a bunch of water on there, you can bring the paint up. Yeah, that's good. I use a much thinner brush for eyes, but whatever works. I mean, the rule of brushes and is, you know, whatever works for you is what to use. Everybody I know, every miniature painter I know uses a different brush as their favorite brush, and they all get amazing, like, results. Some people use gigantic brushes, and some people use the wedge shape. You're in good company if you like the more wedge-shaped brush. Jennifer Haley, who's a very famous miniature painter, always preferred that shape. It also, if you are a wet blender or you tend to do a sideways stroke, as opposed to the long stroke that I do here, that wedge-shaped brush that you've got, that miniature brush, is really good for like sideways blending. It's a good shape for that. So I'm essentially bringing in the thinned creamy ivory to kind of blend in these lines now. Probably threw a little bit too much water into it, but that's okay. And it makes it translucent, and it makes it easy to blend there. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so the shape of your brush, like the shape of the brush that you tend to migrate toward, and the size and the material will very much have an impact on the painting style that you eventually end up utilizing. So I always recommend people should try all sorts of different stuff. I needed to thicken up my creamy ivory a little bit, guys, so I'm just doing that real quick. And I want to get the mouth drawn in. Alright, so essentially just painting over some of the cream color over the indigo helps to blend it in a little bit and fade it out so that it has more of a blended effect. And this isn't, on a very textured surface like this, with lots of wrinkles and stuff, this is actually pretty simple. And it's very forgiving. Just trying to get a little bit more back here. There we go. But yeah, every painter uses a different set of tools, and it kind of forms the way you work, whether you're aware of it or not. And that's what makes everybody a little different. Let me get that little membrane down there around the eye. It's probably going to be a different color, but maybe I'll get a little bit of a gray going on there. Hold on, let me mix my walnut. Can I just say that as far as Critical Role goes, I love how Matt Mercer like handles like adventuring parties. Like he's like everybody in the city like believes it. Like this is not Waterdeep. Like everybody in the city knows that adventuring parties are just like giant powder kegs of chaos, and so they're like, I'm going to give you a task to get you out of the city as punishment because you've been misbehaving lately. You know, it's so true. Like if it was really a thing, you bet your butt that like, you know, if we really lived in a D&D world, all of the like rulers of the D&D world would be like, oh, adventuring parties. It would be a love-hate relationship. Because it's like, we need them to kill all these monsters, but at the same time. Yeah, I'm going to get just put in. Essentially, I'm bringing in some gray just around the eye. A little bit of shading with my walnut mixed with the creamy ivory to bring out that eye a little bit more. All right. And then we'll get our creamy ivory in again, and we will just bring up the little edges here. Just kind of trimming it up, giving us a little bit. I am painting over just over the bones, and I never prime my bones figures, ever. Many primers will react with specifically traditional bones and bones black. I kind of assume that the Bones USA material is different, as it's a Sciocast material and not, I don't think it's PVC, but the great cool thing about Bones is that you can actually paint right over the plastic. I wash it first, and then I just go. Yeah, Reaper discovered this property of Bones. I'm just going to keep this side totally messy so you guys can totally see the difference here. By the time we're done on this one side. Reaper discovered this like way back when they ordered the first Bones materials. Originally, we ordered our first ever Bones stuff because we wanted something cheap for paint and takes, where we could, you know, give the paint and take, because giving them metal was just too expensive. We couldn't do it, but we still wanted to support the paint and takes. So Ed looked into getting these plastic ones shot just without, because we had already been doing a little bit into the pre-paint market at that point, experimenting. And then they came in and they looked so good, and we did some experiments and we found that the paint would adhere to the Bones material just fine. So that you could literally just take the model out of the plastic and just start painting it at the paint and take table, which was pretty much perfect. And so yeah, just because I can, I do. As I mentioned, several spray primers will react to PVC, so you want to be careful what you use to prime your bones if you do prime your bones. There's a lot of passionate people on both sides. This is quite the debate on whether to prime your bones or not, but I always have sided on the path of not priming them. There, we'll get a little bit of this coming on now. Yeah. Yeah, sure, Ann. Sure, Ann, no problem. I've worked for Reaper for, oh my god. Like, do I have to stop and count? I do. 19 years I have worked for Reaper. Most of those years, 17 of those years, I worked on site at the factory headquarters, creating the paint line and being a staff painter here and there. And so I was in on many of the origin stories for the Bones paint line. Yeah, when I want to do a Zenith Prime on a Bones, I just paint the Bones walnut, and then I spray over the top. Or dark gray, depending on what I want. I like that, I just grab a huge brush, and just put a quick, thick base coat on the Bones, and then I can spray prime the highlight. And that lets me also just kind of customize what my background shadow color is. So I can do a gray, or I can do a brown, or I can do whatever, or black. Yeah, Reaper's full of lore. Yeah, I would still be working in Texas, but I met this guy in California, and now we're engaged. So yeah, I moved, and so now instead of creating a paint line, I gave that over to different people. Not my thing anymore. But I did formulate like all of the original, like pretty much every Master Series paint up until 2 years ago. I mixed almost every batch by hand. Except when I was on vacation. Then Ed did it, or Daryl did it, or somebody else did it. I'm going to bring in this white to get this little membrane. There. So now we're getting some nice detailing there, and I'm getting the eye to stand out, which is what I wanted. Now I can continue with my blending around it. And this, like I said, it's not a perfect blend. You can see that, I've definitely got some rough spots, but it's a really good starting point for layering. And wet blending is just fantastic that way. You can get these really cool, smooth, organic effects. And you can get them very fast, all things considered. Oh, Tamiya's spray primer. Well, that's good to know. I like their spray primer anyway. Like, I use that or Games Workshop usually. The Tamiya is pricey for a smaller can, and Games Workshop is pricey too, but David doesn't like the Tamiya as much, so we've been getting GW primer instead for spray. It's also just easier to get sometimes. There we go. Oh, I was actually born here. The funny thing was that I couldn't. David wanted me to move in with him. At that time, I had my old dog, Kiri, and I'm like, Kiri and I cannot fit in your tiny San Francisco apartment. So he got a new place, and he's like, hey, okay, I have a new place, and we're going to live in Mountain View. And I'm like, you're kidding me, because that was exactly the city I was born in. So I'm now living in the city that I was born in. My parents moved when I was very, very little, though, because Dad was in the Navy, and even then it was expensive. But so yeah, so that's my funny origin story. But yeah, I like California. I mean, it's been really, really hot these last few days, but I'm flashing back to Texas here. But like on behalf of Texas, I'm impressed, California. But yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, guys. I'm trying to figure out here. Do I want to make the fins a different color? Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah, David was living in Noe Valley before I was like, we cannot live there because your apartment is too tiny for a giant dog and me, and you. But yeah, he wanted to move closer to his work anyway. So this was a good excuse. I was just very amused that I ended up and my first Like when I had to go in for a medical thing, the first place like I went was actually to El Camino Hospital, and that was the hospital I was born in. And I accidentally walked into like the baby unit because it was one building over, and I missed the sign. So I actually like walked into the building that I was born in, like, you know, infinite months of years later. It's really funny. Like brighter or lighter? Like this is a really bright indigo, actually, all things considered. Brighter or lighter? Two different things, Roger. Two different things. Brighter equals more intense, more saturated. Lighter is lighter colored. I think I would start with the indigo, but then I would come up. We could come up greenish. I'm not going to make him a punkfish. Yeah, it is way too hot for the Bay Area, for sure. Very meta, I know, right? I was, you know, it's funny, but I've always had a problem just where I've lived a lot of places all over the U.S. I've lived on the East Coast and north of Baltimore, and I've lived, I grew up in Wisconsin, so I grew up very Midwest, and I've lived in Texas for 17 years, and now I'm out here. And I always had a thing where I just never really felt like home, but I think I have an official home now. Uh-oh. See, when you do see beading, it's usually because you've thinned your paint too much. So this rich indigo is like, no, if you're going to put me on here, then you're going to put me on full strength. And you can paint full strength onto areas like this. I wouldn't paint full strength onto wide areas where you need the paint to kind of self-level, like the belly. I would definitely thin for that. But when you've got these smaller textured areas, you can totally go full strength with MSP. You're not really going to obscure any detail, especially with translucent colors like this indigo. So I'm going to start with a base of this, and I think I want to go up a bit brighter. I'm going to go with Surf Aqua, and I'm going to see if I can blend that in. There. I would be more likely, I think, to work the purple up in between the spines a bit. But it's all whatever aesthetic you chase. I do feel like it's easier to wet blend with slightly thinner paint, though, so I'm going to just get kind of a start here to see if I like it. And I do kind of like it. Kind of like that, like, kind of tealy color on the fins. But yeah, you could also go darker with the tips. I just like having a little bit of a transition color in here. It's my proof of concept. I'm going to drop a little water into this Surf Aqua because I feel like it needs it to be happy. And we want our Surf Aqua to be happy. Surf Aqua is a beautiful teal color. It's a lighter teal. So we're going to steal it. We're going to sneak our teal in. Probably do a little teal jacket on him. We'll see. Since we're going so relatively non-watery with his base color, I do want to sneak in watercolors, more traditional water elemental colors on a lot of the other areas of him. I like that. So I'm going to just take that. I'm going to go and blend that now. And I'm essentially going to rinse out my brush, and both of these are still wet, so I'm going to just start smushing them together, working back and forth right on that demarcation line. And I can pull it up a little bit. I've got a little bit too much paint, but that's okay. Just makes it a little bit easier. A little bit of a blend there. Now, as you can see, you never, with wet blending, you never keep your darkest dark, and you never keep your lightest light either. The only place here I'm keeping my darkest dark is where I haven't actually touched the indigo, and the only place where I'm with the lightest light is I haven't touched my teal. So, no, I decided the Surf Aqua instead. I've used a lot of Spectral Glow lately, and I'm going away from it. Surf Aqua has long been one of my favorite colors to highlight like cooler colors with, so I'm going with that. So then as we get in here, what I'll do is I'll grab this and probably bring up, after this is dry, I'll bring out these spines a little bit more. But it's still very wet right now, so I put a lot of paint on it and the paint is slightly thin, so it's going to take a while for that paint to set up. Alright, we're going to pop a little bit more of this into here. Oh, the pupper settled down. She's probably like asleep. That's good. Right now I'm just really trying to, it's kind of a bummer because David's been sick, so we haven't been able to really work on getting her into a solid morning routine. Morning routine being so important for tiny puppers to learn how things go. There we go. So we've got a little bit more of that, and I'm blending it in a little bit better. And then this is a good base for us to work all the patterns and yeah, I want to do some black indigo too along the top in kind of a wash. So let's actually set this to dry for a second. Actually, I'll paint this little face fin real quick while I'm waiting for the top fin to dry, and then I can do the other part. I hear David moving around. Let's hope the pupper doesn't wake up. Keeping the door open just to make sure I can hear. Oh, I heard a yawn. I heard a squeaky yawn. The pupper has noticed that David has left the building. Or at least the living room. So again, just putting in a bunch of paint. And then I can blend it while they're both wet. Just a little bit of brush stroke. I've got a lot of teal on here now. So I can pull some of this paint off with my brush while it's still wet. Yeah, I hear squeaky. I hear squeaky puppy. So we may have to, I guess we're not that far off though. Like if she can just hold for another 20 minutes. I'd hate to like take up 10 minutes of the last 20 minutes of the stream. So there, we'll do that in reverse where we've got the dark spines. I kind of like that. Maybe I'll do that on the top instead. We're early enough in the model that I can just kind of do a little experiment and see. But here I really think I like the dark spines with the teal between them. So that's kind of cool. I'm still going to blend this in down here though. There we go. So we got some of that going on. I'm going to grip my black indigo out and just start playing with some shadows. I have a very squeaky puppy in the other room. She's going to start howling any minute. Because she can hear us but not see us. And apparently critical role is no longer sufficient. Let's see here. So I want to do a bit of a wash for this. So let's get a new well. I probably wouldn't do a wash in this case at all. I would do lining. And what I've come to realize over the years is that, and I used to do a ton of washes, but that washes actually cost me time. They don't save me anything. So if I were to throw a wash over the fin, it would darken the whole fin and make the colors muddy. And then I would have to spend time bringing all those colors back up. Whereas if I just thin down my black indigo and I just line carefully around the sections, I can get the same effect in a minute. And I won't have to go back and fix everything and lose my brilliancy of my colors. Especially when you're working with really saturated, bright colors where you need that punch to stay. Washes can really dim that down, and then you have to fight to get it back. Or you have to undercoat with white to get it back, which is usually what I do. And so I've just, over the years, I use washes very selectively. And where I want things to be darker and generally dimmed down and where I'm trying to bring out a texture. So here on the back where all these pubbly scales are, right toward the top, it makes sense to make him a bit darker, get us a little more contrast up here, and to bring out this texture without, because here it would cost me a lot of time to paint in all the texture on these scales. And I will end up highlighting them all by hand, but I can at least get the shading in on them really quick. So yeah, for me, over the years, it's like, because I have painted for a living, because I've done commission work and I've painted for Reaper as a staff painter and done all that stuff, you really learn what costs you time. And when you're doing a gaming paint job, it makes sense to do washes if it's going to save you time. But if you're trying to do a good job, like I am with this, all of my stuff on this stream I paint to at least a Reaper gallery level. So yeah, then it definitely would cost me a lot of time to do a wash over the whole thing, over the fins. Because the colors are so bright and nice, and I don't want to lose that. All right, so I'm going to take a couple brushfuls of black indigo. I'm going to grab my brush on sealer. Yeah, I used to do ink washes and regular washes over pretty much everything I did. And then I started painting for eBay to sell my work on eBay, and I was trying to do a better job, because if I did better jobs, I could paint fewer models and still get the same amount of money, and I could enjoy my work more. And I realized that the washes just were costing me. I'm going to put 4 drops of brush on sealer in there, 2 drops of water. Let's see where that puts me. Yeah, so when you use a technique, mess around with different ways to do it and kind of look at, 1, which way is more enjoyable for you, and 2, which way, is maybe more frustrating or costs you time that would have been better used, spending on some other aspect of the model that you would have enjoyed more. For me, base coating and stuff is like the most boring part, so that turned pretty translucent. So that's a very translucent wash. I actually wanted it a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of my black indigo and mix that in. Kind of see. The nice thing about porcelain palette is that you can really pull it up onto the porcelain and see how transparent or not transparent it is. The color that you see on the side is the amount it's going to darken everything around it. But yeah, for me it's all about minimizing the annoying parts of painting so that I can spend more time on the parts that I really enjoy. Which usually for me is like highlighting, detailing, freehand. Although I do enjoy the wet blending aspect of this. So we're going to paint this wash right over the top. Down to the back here. I want to bring it really right up to here. Now I'm going to be blending this in as well, so I'm actually putting the wash down, but then I'm going to blend in the edge with water. So I want it to really blend. So I'm going to grab my brush, I'm going to take most of the water off of it, but it's still damp, it's still wet. This doesn't have water pooling in it. And then I'm going to just kind of get the edge of that wash and pull it down a little bit into these areas. And then what that's going to do is this is going to make a blend. I don't want a lot of excess water though, so where I see it, I want to wick it off if it's not the full strength wash. If it's the full strength wash, you're pretty safe. But once you start adding that water in along that edge, then it goes to glaze consistency very quickly. And when you are working with glazes, you can easily get into trouble because you're thinning with water and you can break the paint and get all sorts of weird effects. So now I've got a blend where it goes to very dark. I don't know if I want to do tattoos yet. I don't want, remember though, Vimanaqua, well, one, remember that I tend not to go silly with my models unless I'm like I have a concept for it. Two, remember that this could be a gift for Jason, and if so, I'm probably not going to go silly with it. I'm probably going to paint it, you know, cool. So maybe not an anchor tattoo. I don't think he's a sailor anyway. So we've got that dark there. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? I want to do some shading with this indigo and kind of bring out some areas. There are times when you don't want a line, but you do want a dark shadow. And something like that would be like to put behind his ear here, this little fin right here. So I want to create a drop shadow back behind that. There's bumps on the fingers. There's usually only one mold line, remember, that goes all the way around the model. I did make an effort to remove mold lines on the fingers. I can see a tiny bit of leftover mold line here that I missed. Oh, up here? There's one. That's a little tiny bit of one on the bottom of the hand. I don't see any mold line here. This one I mostly got. I'll do another scrape. But it doesn't look like it. There's membranes between the fingers. Yep, bye, Corsair. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about tattoos yet. Depends on the skin, how dark or light it ends up being. There we go. Oh, and yeah, this one. All right. Okay. But yeah, we can consider a tattoo. I just don't have any ideas for it at the moment. It'll kind of depend on, like, as he gets painted, his personality will develop. We'll get more of a feel, like, for what we might want to do there. So painting in a drop shadow right behind that. I'm going to grab my water and blend that in, do a real quick spot blend, so that it blends in with the areas above it. So developing your foo as far as like moving quickly, like it's just going to come with time as you paint. But if you practice it, like practice putting down a spot of paint and then getting your brush wet, but then squeeze the water out of it so that it's just damp, and then doing that blend between the, like catching the edge of the paint and doing that blend with the water that's on your brush. That's something that you can just like practice. And when you need it, it again will save you time, make you more efficient, and gives you a better foundation for blending when you go in for layering. Anything that makes your layering easier and saves you time, because layering is wonderful and I love doing it, but it is the most time-consuming technique probably. Building up layers of blending. See, now putting that drop shadow behind that fin gives you a sense of volume and like brings that fin right out, so it's not blending into the other parts of his head anymore. So that's looking really good. And now his top fin is a little bit dry. What do you think? I kind of do feel like the dark spines are looking a little better. Maybe that's because I tend to do dark spines for dragons. But I like the darker spines here. So let's try that real quick. Let's try to bring in just a couple of these darker spines. Using a mix of rich indigo and the black indigo. And if I'm going to go this way, then I definitely want to bring in more surf aqua in the places in between. But what really helps here is that we did that kind of blend to set things up. So now, if we do need to go back in and just kind of highlight a little bit toward the outer edge of each of these membranes, it's very easy. We already have that blend that's kind of set up. Okay, let's see here. Let me get a little bit of this blend, this teal in here. I thinned it down to just do a little bit of highlight along the edges, bring up these the membranes a little bit. There's not much of a membrane showing. These spines are very close together here, these two. So, hey, the puppy calmed down again. Awesome. She could not resist Critical Role. It's so sleep-inducing. There we go. I do want the tip of this spine to be lighter, though. And then maybe I'll make the front part dark. Summer thunderstorms. Yep. We do not have those out here. I've never heard a thunderstorm out here. Not ever. Like never have heard thunder since I moved here to the South Bay. It's just not something we get. So that's a big dark spike. Grab some of my indigo and blend it a little. So lots of wet blending to set this one up. And when you've got a lot of texture on a surface, it just makes a lot of good sense to do it. It just makes it a lot easier. Because any texture on the surface is going to hide your imperfections from your wet blending. He's going to have a unicorn fish from the front. He's going to have one big dark horn. Unicorn fish. And no, we're not painting him with rainbows. A little bit of membrane in there. Interesting. Lightning maps. Lightningmaps.org. Interesting. If I check it, it'll be like, nope. I don't know if they get thunderstorms in San Francisco proper, but nothing out here, that's for sure. Now maybe I do the base of the spines darker. It's a good thing my immune system is awesome. Because David bringing Concrete home with how tired I am already. If I had got Concrete on top of how I feel right now, I think, I don't know, like the wedding might be off. There we go. So get some of that dark coming up into the bottom here. Twice in the last decade, yeah. Makes sense. It is a teal. It is Surf Aqua. You can see how green it is. Bringing that in. Now, these guys, these kind of spine things can be very persnickety. There's a lot of like painting it in and then touching it up, especially because we kind of decided to change the way I was doing the colors and go for dark spines. So they will take a while if you do them nicely. Yeah, he typically takes a while to recover. It'll probably be a few days. He's still sneezing today, and he's also hacking, so. A little bit of darker spines coming in. And these spines are also really close together, so they're actually kind of difficult. Like, you don't really have much membrane between them in here. Anything you do, you've got to kind of freehand and kind of imply. Unlike back here where we actually have some room between the spines to suggest those. I'm going to just get the base of these spines down. I'm going to bring in more of the highlighting down between the membranes. And I mean, as we work on this, we're gonna essentially make it tighter and tighter, but this sort of thing, it tends to be pretty onerous to paint and make look good. It takes a bit of work. Yeah. Yeah, I would like our house to get back to like a normal schedule, please. That's what I would really like. I rely heavily on routine and habit in my daily life to keep everything getting done, because I have a lot on my to-do list at the best of times. So when everything is kind of off kilter between the new puppy and the sick David, and like the con that he was at and all this stuff, and then all these vet appointments, my productivity has not been high. Let's put it that way. Yeah, normal is underrated. I like need it to keep my sanity. I like need a routine. Like, give me a flat routine with no disruptions, and I can get more done than 3 people. But disrupt my routine, and I promptly like fall to pieces. So I feel like I'm still trying to find that normalcy. Bringing in again the kind of the dark spines. I'm kind of bringing these guys up. The spines are also somewhat irregular, like they're not all painted or all sculpted, like really uniform, so it's very organic. So that impacts, like trying to make it neat, it can make it a little harder when you're dealing with an irregular sculpt. You're gonna have to mess around to get it to work right. It's getting there though. That's coming in. But yeah, I feel like I have a lot of things on my to-do list that Like, and I've just barely been keeping my head above the water as far as my obligations go. So I'm going to get really tight on these little spines now. I'm going to make them very narrow toward the top. So even if they're not that narrow, I can paint them that narrow in order to get the membrane color to come in. Ah. Yeah, we never know what we're going to have at the ReaperLux stuff. It's usually a surprise. Alrighty. Get that spike in there. So now we've got more of our dark spines in. We need to bring in a little bit more. Good news, huh? There we go, bringing in a little bit more of that light color. Yeah. Puppy or human? Human. Grats. What is the podling's name, as they're not humans yet? They are podlings. I always ask for names because I always think what people name their kids is pretty interesting. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, you can't assume, right? Because some of us have like just fur babies. Actually, I should have asked boy or girl, or no, you said boy. That's right. All right, I'm going to put one more highlight toward the edge of this to really bring out the little membranes. I think I'm going to mix, I'll try my creamy ivory. Since I'm already using all these colors, I'm just going to try to mix a highlight based on my off-white here and my white there. And if it mutes it too much, then I'm going to go with pure white. That's funny. So you now have a human miniature as well as just regular miniatures. That's what we always say. And I'm going to mix in some of this, and you can see how I'm lightening it, making a lighter color. It's also going to mute it a little. It's also going to make it more green. Joshua Alexander. That's good. I always liked Alexander. And Josh is a good name too. Super. Well, congrats. So you're probably not getting any sleep either. I'm getting more sleep now. Yep. Yeah, I just, I'm about set. I just want to put a little highlight here on the fins there, Quindy, and then we will quit out and I will be able to go and get the pupper out of her crate. So this is the color we mixed by adding this color into this color. And I'm going to do those fins just with one more little highlight, and then we'll call it. So a little tiny highlight right along the outer edge. Just so we can pop it up just that little bit more. There we go. So just that little bit of highlight along the top of that fin. Well, you guys need the rain, Twisted Oma, so that's good. We could use some rain too, but we probably won't get any for a bit of time. So like that, gives you that slight like highlight along the edge. Let me see here. I'm going to make a little darker spines on that fin real quick. But yeah, since I started late, I figured I'd go a little bit later. Pupster juggling got in the way. I'm just going to put a little bit of darker. To get those spines in. So yeah, I could have like tried to do a wash here. The other thing that a wash will do that you sometimes don't always like is that it will bring out any imperfections in the sculpt. And since many sculpts do have imperfections, because sculptors are human just like everybody else, or they've got just like areas that aren't quite as clean, your wash is going to bring out that detail, whether it's good or bad. So, whereas if you're painting it straight up, you can paint plastic surgery it a little bit. Yep. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this highlight along this outer edge. Oh, a little bit too much on my brush there. Got a bit of puddles. I'm going to doctor that up. Just a little bit more. And just getting those little highlights along the edge of the fin really helps it to come out so you can see the details. I'll need to clean up that bottom fin a little bit more. But so that's where we're looking right now as far as our color scheme for Mr. Fish. I'll probably give him like gold eyes or something. I'm just looking at his eyes trying to figure out what I'm going to do with them. And I'll highlight that horn on the front as well. Bring it in a little bit more like our standard color. Do a little bit of a blend. There. Yeah, I'll work on that. It's kind of chunky, so it's kind of hard, but make it better there. And yeah, oh, the last thing I can do is give him a dark mouth. Rawr. He's a very grumpy fish. We could totally make him look very grumpy. He's got the right face muscles for it. He's definitely trying to overturn a ship or something. All right. So yeah, so those little tiny highlights toward the edge of the fin helps bring that out. And I'll be working more on getting that front fin, that front spike to look better and to blend in. I also forgot to bring my wash down a little bit onto the forehead here. So we'll do that and then we'll say we're done. I was always happy when thunderstorms came in. I always liked them. Do get severe weather sometimes in Texas, but more often it's just a really cool storm. Better than the terrible hot and dry. Did you know that Texas was cooler than California yesterday? I was staring at Denton's weather and it was like 85 in Denton and 90 here at like 10 p.m. I think. It was ridiculous. There we go, a little bit. And we fishy. We are getting fishy. Getting fishy, folks. So yeah, I like the indigo and how it played around with the face here and everything. I'll probably bring it in a little bit more as shadows down here on the belly and keep that ivory, the creamy ivory, as the highlight. And it's nice because the creamy ivory is a warmer color, so it draws the eye and it gives us a little bit of something different to look at. Yeah. So yeah, he's coming along. So I think that the aqua is nice because it brings your eye up here as well. We'll have to figure out like kind of how we're gonna make his tendrils look. We might go with a really dark indigo for that, make them like kind of fade into a really dark tip. I think that'd be good because it'd bring it out against the chest here. And yeah, I've got to do some shading too underneath the fringe here before I even get to that, since it would be. Yeah, the indigo and aqua was a nice combo. So good. Alrighty. Well, we will call that for today. We actually got our fish face, half of our fish face, looking pretty good. You can paint it however you want. I'm sure we will see all sorts of fish variety. There are plenty of awesome fishes. So yeah. Yeah, and so what we do on this stream is I've got a 6 model rotation. So after this guy for tomorrow, we have Wizard we've been working on. He's pretty cool. So I've been working on his back cape design here, which is turning out actually pretty awesome. I based it on a World of Warcraft cape. So we've been doing freehand on him. The next day, I'm going to be doing Zenith, kind of blocking in a stronger Zenith on our Catfolk Mage before we start painting him. Maybe we'll use some Reaper super washes with him. I haven't decided, but I'm kind of thinking about it. But I need to block in the Zenith and really sketch in the Zenith very strongly before we do that. So that would be the next day. And then our model after that is the one I started painting at ReaperCon, the Ghostwalker lady. I really like her. We're going with a very muted color scheme for her, so she's very different. And then she'll probably have freehand on her back too. To replace the bust I finished for Jean, we've got another Scion. This is the Genie, the air guy. I really like him. He's going to be fun. I think we're going to do a really dark skin tone on him. So that'll be probably what we do. And then the last model in our rotation right now is this Celestial Magelet. I need to figure out what is going to replace her. I might, I'll see if I can order some Bob Rodolphi models actually to do. But we've been working on her base. So I've been using PVA glue and just carefully placing, like building up layers of gravel over a cork base, doing it like that. And we will be further working on her base and essentially finishing up her base. She's also got really cool freehand on her back, the various celestial alchemical symbols that we kind of adapted to go on her. I really like her. I really like her color scheme, and I like the way that she's looking. So we just have to finish up the base, and we'll probably do a glowing rune down here as well, kind of in her colors, probably this paler blue when we get down there. I'm going to just ignore you, Gibson. Sorry, no. So yeah, and then we'll go back around to Fish Guy. So essentially a 6-model rotation, because I didn't want people who could only tune in one day of the week to always be stuck watching the same model. So this way the model gets a day later. So if today is Wednesday, that means then next week this fish model will be on Thursday, assuming I don't have to like take any time off or anything. But yeah, when I take a day off, then we skip. We take up with that model the next day. So yeah, that's what we do. We do a lot of different sizes of models, a lot of different subjects. That way it keeps fresh, and I don't get bored with a model by painting the same thing every day. And also other people don't get bored. Like everybody, every day you tune in, we're working on a different kind of thing and a different color set. And sometimes we work on basing, and we did a lot of basing recently. So yeah, so that's what we do. So thanks, guys. And yeah, tomorrow we will work on Mr. Scroll, Mr. Flying Carpet salesman. And I'll need to start figuring out how I'm going to do that carpet too. But yeah, I really want to highlight the orange more. But we may go in, we may do a lot of orange tomorrow. We may come in and highlight the orange more around the freehand, up here on the shoulders and on the front. We could block in some more stuff, and we'll see. I don't think I want to do gold tomorrow, but we're otherwise looking pretty good. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. And we will hand you over to, I guess there's no Luca today, so you can like hang out and do whatever. But I will be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Color is my superpower. Thank you, Orchid Twilight. Yeah, even in art school, color was my superpower. Like, I always loved colors when I was a kid, and I guess I just internalized a kind of a system. And I have usually I can trust my gut when I look at colors. Like I can just go with what my gut says works, and it works. So that's just doing art for a lot of years. But yes, thanks everybody. And yeah, we'll be back. Hopefully we will be feeling a little bit better tomorrow, both of us. All right? I hope you have a great one, everybody. And I hope that I see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.